Astrology of psychic abilities. How to find your psychic powers in your birth chart. Let's go. Telepathy, precognition, clairvoyance, all of these psychic abilities, they exist. Some people have them stronger than others. Some have them innately. They're kind of born with them. Others, they only develop them throughout certain experiences in life or through certain practices that they have to do in life. And all of that, all of those different pathways to these psychic abilities, they should be written in your birth chart, in your astrological birth chart, right? Because your astro chart, at the end of the day, it's the image of all of your destiny potentials. So obviously your psychic abilities, if there are any, they should be written in the chart as well. And lo and behold, they are. However, you need to know how to find them. You need to know how to decode the astro chart. And that's an art in itself. It's a very fine art, which in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do. And we're going to give you all of the factors that you have to look at in order to find the different psychic innate abilities with all of the different, nuances. They're all different. They're slightly different. And it's important to know how they're different, especially if you want to work on them, especially if you want to have an understanding, especially if you're on a spiritual path, if you're a person who's doing spiritual work, inner growth, spiritual growth. At some point, you're going to come across these psychic abilities. And it's good to know if you have any innate predispositions in this regard. So this video, we're going to do that. We're going to look at all the factors. I'm going to tell you how to find them as well, right? And then I'm going to give you some examples as well of some known mystics and seers so that you can see what it looks like in practice when you look at a chart, right? All of this in this video, so make sure to watch this video till the end. Also, subscribe and hit the notification bell and like this video if you haven't done so yet. So this is some really groundbreaking stuff. This has not been shared like this on YouTube before, at least. And it's based on the insights and the findings and the research of globally leading seers and astrologers, right? So there's one disclaimer though that I have to tell you before we get into this, before I can share this really groundbreaking knowledge with you. It's that this is not to be taken lightly, right? Working with psychic energies, activating psychic powers is not a game, right? It can be dangerous, right? It can be dangerous. That has to be said, which is why spiritual traditions, they always tell you to ground any psychic experiences, any psychic work in a spiritual practice, whether that's a revealed religion or an esoteric tradition or an initiatic path. It should be always grounded in a real spiritual practice, right? And I'll tell you at the end of the video a little bit about that, how you can get started with that as well. So that's an important disclaimer that we have to keep in mind. And the second thing is that we're going to be working with asteroids. I will tell you about asteroids, right? A lot of asteroids. I know there's some astrologers who don't work with asteroids. They're missing out on, all the nuance, all the details, all the information, next level information is in the asteroids. I'll tell you how to use it as well. It's not that difficult if you haven't done it yet. And we're going to go through all the factors, basically all the asteroids that have some innate psychic capability or psychic power indication that can show you those, right? We're going to go through all of those. So make sure to bookmark this video as well. In future, you may want to come back to it when you want to check out all of the different psychic capabilities that you want to check out on yourself or somebody else. Okay, so we're going to be looking at asteroids. If you ask yourself how to do it, it's not that difficult, right? Every asteroid has a number. I'm going to always tell you the number of the asteroid. And all you need to do is, if you use, for instance, astro.com, you go on astro.com and you click on add additional objects. And then you enter the number of the asteroid, right? Or asteroids that you want to check. And you say show chart, and that's it. It's going to show you your chart, and you will see exactly where the asteroid is placed in your chart, right? It's not that difficult. You just need to know the number of the asteroid. But then where are you going to look for it? Like what you're looking for. Where do you want the asteroid to be placed for it to be effective? That's the next question. And this is an important question that we need to know before we look at the asteroid's placement, right? So I'm going to tell you that as well first. And we are going to be looking for conjunctions or oppositions of the asteroids to specific planets, right? Most important of all is Moon and Neptune, right? So Moon is the most important of all. Obviously, Moon is not a planet, but in astrology, we call it a planet, right? And Moon is the most important, right? So when the conjunctions or oppositions of those asteroids, when they're with Moon, then this is going to be a psychic power or capability that you have kind of innately, you always had, you always knew you had, because moon stands for your past and your intuitions and your karmic heritage, right? It's typically going to be something that you already had as a child, right? So if it stands with moon, it's something that as a child you already had access to, even though you didn't fully understand it, you couldn't maybe figure it out, but you already had access to this power, right? If it's with Neptune, Neptune is very powerful too. If it's with Neptune, it's typically something that is very mysterious, right? Neptune stands for like the crown chakra and everything, the higher senses, the great beyond. And it's going to be something that's very mysterious for you. Oftentimes it's confusing you. It's a psychic energy, but it's confusing you, right? It's not so easy to grasp. It can be very debilitating and confusing until you reach a certain spiritual maturity. And only then it can be super empowering. Before that, it can be mostly confusing, not necessarily positive, right? When it comes through Neptune. But there's other collective planets that you can look at as well, which also, when the asteroid stands with those, it's possible too that there is a power, right? Every other collective planet, like the bigger planets, apart from Saturn. Saturn is a blocker, right? Saturn, no, is a no-go, right? But Jupiter, yes. If the asteroid is with Jupiter, then you can develop that psychic power through faith, through religiosity. Jupiter stands for faith and belief. So typically, if it's with Jupiter, you can develop that power through, for instance, through bhakti yoga or through devotion, devotional saint veneration, right? Prayer, right? That's what's going to get you closer to that ability, right? Now, if it's with Uranus, Uranus is also possible. If it's with Uranus, it can be something that comes very suddenly. Sudden things happen in your life, sudden shifts, happen in your life, a break happens, and then bang, suddenly it's there, right? You never had this before, and then out of the blue, this person suddenly got this, right? And everything changed in their life, if it's with Uranus, right? If it's with Pluto, it's possible too. And if it's with Pluto, oftentimes it's going to be connected with some dark experiences. So some people have to go through traumatic experiences in their life, and then suddenly in those traumatic experiences, they get those psychic abilities, right? They enter in their life. So those are the planets that you want to look at. Chiron potentially too. And you want to look at the conjunctions or oppositions of the asteroids to these planets. If you have conjunctions or oppositions of the asteroids to these planets, then these are going to be innate capabilities, some capabilities that you have that you can develop. Okay? So now that we've done this, now I'm going to tell you the actual asteroids. And this is going to be like, this is the ultimate guide, comprehensive guide for you. It gives you all the asteroids that you need to look for in the chart and what they stand for. And they all stand for different things. So let's start with the first one, Apollo. Apollo 1862. Apollo 1862. This is an asteroid which it's named after. In the Greek mythology, there was a Greek god called Apollo, which was this kind of figure the deity, Apollo, who would kind of see everything from high above, from the skies. And from there, he had like access to oversee what would happen in future. So it stands for prophecy and clairvoyance, and also access to group consciousness is Apollo, right? 1862. Then we have Asbolus. Asbolus is 8405. 8405. Asbolus, it was a centaur. So a centaur is like in the Greek mythology, these half human, half horse, right? And this centaur, it was able to read in the flight of the birds. So he would observe the flight of the birds, and then he would tell you the future, or he would tell you what happened far away. He would get intuitions and visions. And this is connected to what's called environmental sensitivity or biofield sensitivity. Some people have this capability, especially, in native peoples. They develop this strongly, like they read the flow of the river and the wind. They listen to the wind, right? And from these, they get intuitions on what's going to happen or what happened elsewhere, right? So environmental sensitivity. The next one is Asteria 658. Asteroid 658. This one is a Titaness in Greek mythology that was connected with the stars. And Asteria stands for clairvoyance or precognition, which comes through stargazing, reading the stars. This is not the same as astrology. This is more like intuitive stargazing. So people have this power. They're going to be able to just intuitively, look up the sky and see the stars and just get intuitions, get downloads, right? Just by seeing the stars without calculating the angles and and the houses and everything, right? They just intuitively download if they see the star, if they get that moment of immersion in looking into the starry heavens, right? So that's Asteria. The next one is Dione. Dione 106, right? That's the right number, 106. So Dione was the mother of Aphrodite, was a deity as well, standing for oracles, right? The protector of oracles. She was part of the oracle of Delphi and all of those different oracles that they had in the ancient Greek mythology. And she stands for, that type of clairvoyance, the clairvoyance that is done in the oracles, throughout the oracles. And she's also giving insights into nature, right? Nature energies, environmental energies, because the Greek oracles, oftentimes they also read basically the winds and the skies and the moving, changing of nature. Geomancy, it's called as well, right? The next one is called Hypnos. Hypnos is 14827. 14827. This one is a deity, Greek deity of sleep that it's named after. Hypnos was basically Morpheus. In the Roman, it's called Morpheus, right? Morpheus, Hypnos. Hypnos stands for sleep, the dreams, the dream world, right? And there's like this show on Netflix about the Dream Lord. The Dream Lord is Hypnos, right? That's Hypnos. Hypnos is this the Dream Lord, right? 14827. And this asteroid, it stands for the ability to have great prophetic dreams, right? Or out-of-body experiences in the dream. So where people are able to, in the dream, have lucid dreaming and also have the ability to see the future or see what's happening far away in the dream, right? In the dreamland, in the dream world, they have access to higher intuition, sixth sense, higher intuition, Hypnos. 14827, right? The next one is Kalchas. Kalchas 4138. 4138. Okay, this is a Greek seer, right, in the Trojan War, and he was in the Trojan, he predicted everything that was happening in the Trojan War, and he's known for precognition, basically. Precognition and remote viewing, right? So precognition, basically seeing the future, understanding what future events that are going to happen, okay? So the next one is Kassandra. Kassandra is very similar, 114, Kassandra. 114 Kassandra is also precognition. In addition, also Akashic record reading is kind of the highest level of seer ability, is Akashic, record reading. It's not just, precognition is about getting a sense for a future event, right? An impending event, and you get a sense for it, or you get a vision of, oh, this is gonna happen, right? Akashic record reading is one level higher, is like where you directly overstand the reason for everything and how everything is connected and why exactly this and this and this thing has to happen, right? In the next kind of coming time, right? It's a higher level of seeing still. But Kassandra, even though it's the highest level of seeing, Kassandra also often comes, this asteroid, like Kassandra in the mythology, she was condemned to see things that people wasn't believed. People didn't believe her. Right? She would kind of come and see. She saw everything. She saw the Trojan horse. She warned of the Trojan horse. Nobody believed her. She warned of even of her own death. She warned of that they was going to get taken captive and there was going to be all kind of bad things happening to them. And nobody believed her again. Right? And all of it happened. Right? She was completely powerless to do anything about it. So Kassandra stands for that highest level of seer abilities. Oftentimes, however, connected with a certain propensity to say things or see things that other people don't believe, right? That's 114 Kassandra. Then you have Magion. Magion 2696. 2696. That's the one. 2696. This stands for basically the magus, the magician, right? Which is directly impacting reality on a quantum level, right? So quantum level interactions, changing quantum level interactions. So when you think about transurfing and quantum leaps and, quantum jumping and these kind of things, right? It's a whole big field. There's a lot to say about those. A lot of the things people say are manifesting and so on. A lot of things people say about those techniques is not necessarily kosher or is not necessarily on point. We need to speak about that in other videos so you're sure that you're not doing anything stupid. But nonetheless, that being said, Magion, the asteroid, it stands for that innate ability, having that innate ability more so than others. 2696 Magion, right? Okay, then we have Manto 870. Manto 870 stands for Mantic Arts. Mantic Arts is basically anything around clairvoyance, psychometry, divination, right? Divination is basically includes also things like tarot, right? Tarot or reading I Ching, I Ching, or any other kind of divination tools that exist, right? That you can basically use omens to see and read out of those omens the coming, the signals that you're going to get from the astral forces that are acting on those omens. 870 Manto, okay? The next one is Melete. Melete 56. 56 is Melete. This one, it stands for spiritual discipline. Spiritual discipline, right? So consciousness expansion and extension through spiritual discipline. When you have Melete involved, it's always going to be something about doing hard work, meditating, doing spiritual exercises in order to reach a certain consciousness, power of consciousness, right? Expanding your consciousness, and then that consciousness, when it is expanded, you can see and you can influence things, and you can be outside of your body with your consciousness. Basically, the consciousness can be elsewhere as well, right? And this is only through discipline with Melete, right? So Melete was one of the muses, one of the 9 muses that existed in Greek mythology as well. The next one is Mnemosyne, which is the mother of the muses, who stands for the past. She's with the number 57. 57 Mnemosyne. And Mnemosyne, she stands for the past and the knowledge of the past, right? So the knowledge of, especially the knowledge of the past lives, which is written in the Akashic records. The knowledge of all the past lives, right, is accessible through 57 Mnemosyne. Okay. The next one is Psyche 16. Psyche 16. Psyche is, Psyche and Eros. You know the story of Psyche and Eros, which is in the Greek mythology as well. Psyche, she was a lover, the mortal lover of Eros, and she had this, through this whole suffering and sacrifice, she had like a spiritual awakening, and she became very powerful psychically as well. She was actually named, her name stands for this power, right? And the power came through emotional giving and emotional sensitivity, right? So she stands for people who have extremely high psychic abilities in emotions. They can read emotions, right? Not just high emotional intelligence, but they can actually kind of sense the emotions, the emotional field of everybody. They can read the aura of everybody telepathically. They can read the telepathically the aura of how everybody feels. If they go into a room, they can just sense like how everybody feels in that room, right? If they see people from far away, they can just sense how they feel, right? So that's Psyche 16. Right. The next one is Pythia 432 Pythia. Pythia, she is named after the Oracle of Delphi, right? This is a famous oracle under the influence of Apollo, and she stands for mediumship and channeling and clairvoyance, right? So mediumship and channeling, right? Mediumship is, oftentimes mediums have strong position of Pythia. So mediums are people who are, channels, right? Channels are people who are channeling a higher level energy, especially coming from the causal plane, right? And mediums are people who are channeling an energy from the astral plane. Okay? And this could be any energy. This could be a spirit. This could be a ghost of somebody. This could be oftentimes mediums don't have that much consciousness of what's happening. They're just being vehicles or tools, They also get oftentimes fooled by the energies that are coming. For instance, if people get together and they're doing this mediumship seance and they're trying to channel, or they're trying to be a medium rather, there are two different things, related but different. They're trying to be a medium for, let's say, somebody who's deceased, and then some spirit comes and talks to them, right? And some ghost basically comes and talks to them and says, yeah, I'm that person, right? I'm that person that you're looking for. And they get very, oh, we did it, or we're talking to, but it's maybe not really that person. It could be just some mischievous ghost. It could be just some trickster entity, right? And the medium will often not be able to tell because they're just a vehicle. They're giving themselves to for other entities to speak through them, right? So Pythia stands for this 432, right? Then we have the next one, Samadhi. Samadhi 12472 12472. That's it. Let's not step over and fall over here the numbers. So Samadhi stands for the highest level possible of spiritual opening, spiritual awakening, right? It's a term that comes from the Vedic tradition, and Samadhi is basically the goal of spiritual development. But when you have this asteroid placed in a prominent position, it's easier to have access to that spiritual enlightenment or that higher consciousness, right? That kind of basically going beyond the crown chakra, beyond the highest chakra, where you completely transcend the material plane, right? And you're entering the spiritual and you're overstanding everything, right? So Samadhi is that consciousness, is that ability to have that consciousness. Doesn't mean if somebody has that asteroid, they don't need to do the work or they don't need to do, right? They don't automatically going to have it, but it's going to be easier to access Samadhi states, right? So that's that. Sybilla. Sybilla is the next one. 168, Sybilla. Sybilla, another planet, another asteroid that stands for prophetic dreams, for clairvoyance, stands for the seers as well. Like the seers, the Sybils were basically a group of prophetesses and oracles, right? And they gave very cryptic guidance to everybody. You know, you went there and they told you like some riddle. You know, oh, when the so-and-so comes and this, that, you know, when the white horse, is tired, then this will happen. And they would give you some very cryptic kind of messages, right? And people, oh, okay, what am I going to do with this? And then suddenly it makes sense at some point. You're going about your life and suddenly it makes sense. So it stands for these prophetic dreams and clairvoyance, mediumship as well, because Sybilla stands for those insights that are about the future or about warnings, right? But about kind of insights of what's to come, but very cryptic, very symbolic, very metaphoric, right? Very hard to figure out necessarily, not so straightforward, right? Not as straightforward as Kassandra, for instance, right? When we said Kalchas or Kassandra, they stand for this really clear, like, look, I saw this is going to happen, right? Whereas with this one, it's more like, oh, be careful of that energy, and when a man comes who wears black, but who had a bad relation with his mother or whatever. So they're going to give you some really difficult things so that you have to figure out symbolically, right? Okay, that's Sybilla. The next one, Urania. Urania 16. Now, Urania, what's the number of Urania? I actually don't have the number of Urania here. So I don't know the number of Urania, but you're going to see it on the screen. It's going to be written here on the screen. The number of Urania, right? It's not 16. Whatever the number is, you're going to be seeing it here. And this one, it actually stands for astrology, right? So it's the asteroid that gives you spiritual, intuitive insight into astrology. This is people who, when they look at an astrology chart, they can get downloads, they can get spiritual intuitions that go beyond just reading the chart. They get like an intuition, but by looking at the chart, right? Different to Asteria. Asteria was about looking at the stars. Urania is about looking at the chart, right? And getting from the chart, because Urania was the muse, or was the muse presiding over astrology, right? Was the muse protecting astrology. That's why. Last one is Vesta that I'm going to tell you. Vesta with the number 4, right? Vesta with the number 4. This one, Vesta, she was the deity of the home and the sacred fire, and also of spiritual purification. So Vesta stands for spiritual discipline and spiritual purification, especially sexual energy purification, right? Bringing that up, bringing the jing up and turning it into higher form, higher energy, right? And which is sexual transmutation as well, and transmutation and spiritual transformation of the lower into the higher, right? That's what Vesta stands for. Okay, so now we have gone through all of these asteroids. And you can again bookmark this. Make sure to come back to this whenever in future you want to check out different asteroids and different psychic abilities that you want to check out, right? But I'm still going to give you some examples of some actual charts, so you have an idea what to look for. What it looks like in practice. Okay, so here's the first chart, and this is the chart of Baba Vanga. Baba Vanga, she was a blind Bulgarian mystic and seer, and she was basically she was predicting historical events. She's very famous for that. She predicted a lot of things that to this day people are discussing, and a lot of it is pretty accurate. So for instance, she predicted the September 11th attacks. She said that around the millennium there would be 2 steel birds that would fly into 2 American brothers, and this would happen around the millennium. She said a lot of other things too, which people are kind of trying to still decipher, because she made a lot of predictions for the 21st century, some of which are still, supposed to come in future. And she was a deeply religious person. And you can see that here in her chart, where the asteroids, they are here with Jupiter. See, remember here what I said? When the asteroids, when the psychic power asteroids, when they are with Jupiter, then this power, it comes through devotion, belief and devotion, basically religious faith and prayer and devotion. And you can see that the Jupiter here is hitting the moon, right? So it's coming into the moon, which is especially strong. And then in addition, you also have Kalchas and Samadhi, right? So Samadhi here with Neptune, and Sybilla with Pluto, right? And you have up there Kalchas with Uranus, right? So Uranus-Neptune opposition already is super strong, right? And the Uranus-Neptune opposition is each with asteroid that indicates psychic abilities, right? So access to the highest planes of consciousness and access to sudden prophetic images, right? And here to prophetic dreams, right? Prophetic dreams as well are in here, right? So all of this is here, and you're going to see that this person is going to have strong innate psychic abilities, as we discussed, right? This is why I'm showing you this, so you see basically what it looks like in practice. Here's another one. This is Rasputin, Grigory Rasputin. So Rasputin, he was famous for basically, he was in the court of the Tsar and the Tsarina, right? The last Tsar and Tsarina of Russia. And he had like this following. A lot of people were his followers, like even including the Tsarina and a lot of other people on the court. They were all his followers. They were all he was like a cult. He had like a cult following. They would do everything for him. And he had them all under his thumb somehow. He had kind of a dark spiritual influence, right? He was a dark initiate. So not a man of God, right? He was more of a dark initiate. But Rasputin, although there are stories that actually he did a lot of healing and a lot of good too, but it's not fully clear, probably more like a gray influence from him. And he is, where are you going to see the asteroids? Where are they? Well, they're going to come through what? They're going to come through Pluto, right? Obviously, Pluto is when it's coming with dark energy, right? When it's about dark power and dark traumatic experiences. And all of these asteroids here, they're directly opposite Pluto. As I said, you're looking for oppositions and conjunctions only. And you got here Melete, Vesta, and Magion. Yeah, Magion. So the hard spiritual practice, spiritual discipline, and spiritual exercises that bring about magical powers, right? And that are dark magical powers, right? And so you have that. Plus you have Moon with Hypno, right? Hypno, the power, the Lord of Dreams, and also of hypnosis, right? And then you have Psyche as well as I didn't put it in here anymore, but you can see clearly a dark person, dark kind of spiritual power with a lot of manipulative and magnetic energy and mesmerism, you can see here, and hypnotism, right? So he has these innate abilities for these skills or for these powers, right? Not necessarily positive, but obviously, even if you have these powers, it's always about how you're going to use them, right? You can use them for positive, for good, or for bad, right? And now the next one is Teal Swan. Teal Swan, she's very famous, right? She has a YouTube channel, and she's probably one of the most famous people in the esoteric field today. And well, she's known for what? She's known for trauma healing, emotional kind of healing, past life regression healing, right? And these kind of, she helps people, she gives people tools and ways and methods for healing themselves and their emotional baggages, right? And their emotional kind of entanglements in their karma, right? And you're going to see this where it's coming through the moon. The moon is the innate abilities and to do with the past, right? And it's directly opposite Hypnos, Vesta, and Mnemosyne. Mnemosyne is what? Is the asteroid that stands for past life, right? So, and it comes through the moon, right? The moon is innate and, direct access to it through, right? Through past lives as well. So she's known for past life regression. She's known for healing emotional trauma, and it's all written in here directly, right? Vesta is spiritual purification, and Mnemosyne is the past, right? And Hypno is dream work, right? And all of that comes through the moon. And then she also has Melete, right? For opposite the Neptune here, which is Melete is about the spiritual discipline and the exercises. Magion is with Pluto too, so there's some dark energies here too, which is another story. She has actually super interesting past life patterns, past life karma. Maybe in another video I'll talk about this. If you want to see who these people were in their past life or who they are now, there is some very interesting insights here from some leading seers that I can share with you in future. And we can do that, let me know in the comments if you want to see that. Now let's do the next person. The next person is going to be a very famous medium, and that's, I can't change? Yes, I can. Theresa Caputo. Theresa Caputo. So Theresa Caputo, she's known as the Long Island medium, right? And she had this TV show for a long time. She looks like a typical, New Yorker or Jersey, more like a Jersey kind of diva. And she is very, very powerfully placed here. She has super powerful placements with Jupiter. You can see here, her moon is with Samadhi, right? So innately, she already knows how to reach higher levels of consciousness. Jupiter is with Apollo and Asbolus, right? So both for prophecy that comes through faith and belief. And then she has Kalchas and Dione, right? On the Uranus Pluto. And she has Vesta here too, with the Neptune placement, right? So a lot of placements, Dione especially about the medium, the mediumship and the channeling, and the others are about just, higher levels of insight and intuition into sixth sense and into prophecy and clairvoyance, right? So she has all of those abilities, right? Definitely she's not a person who, again, what you do with those capabilities is up to you, is another question. People can have certain abilities and use it for bad, or they can have them and use them for something good. I was not even going into that at this point, just showing you here that these people, they have these abilities, right? They are born with these innate abilities or with these abilities that can be developed throughout life. Now, everybody through the right training can develop certain psychic abilities. And actually, in spiritual development, it shouldn't actually be your goal. If you are working with an authentic spiritual tradition, they will not tell you that that's your goal. You will always know that that's a byproduct. It's a byproduct of spiritual development, right? You focus on your spiritual development. You focus on your purification. You focus on getting closer to God. You focus on becoming a better person, right? But also becoming a more healed person, a more whole person, holistic person, which is a more holy person too, right? Cleansing yourself and acquiring higher consciousness. And then as a byproduct, these things will come, right? There shouldn't be something that you kind of obsessively focus on wanting to develop them, right? If you do that, it goes very quickly into the wrong direction. It gets dangerous and you get the boomerang effect of these. You can develop psychic abilities if you're just obsessively focused on doing it, but it's not going to be helpful for you, right? It's not going to help you in your journey and your spiritual development. What you want to do is you want to work on your overall development spiritually, right? Through purification, through cleansing, through exercises of acquiring cleaner and better and more still consciousness. And then the abilities, if they are there innately, they will come. They will start to pop up, they will come, right? It's a byproduct, not the goal. That's very important, right? We need to focus on this. It's important to say this because there's different approaches to this. If you're following the left-hand path approach, people will just say like, do whatever. Or if you're like a chaos, there's like these people who do so-called chaos magic, right? And that's about just doing whatever, just get the results and forget about the rest. That's a recipe for, leading yourself into disaster and into lack of health, unhealthy situations for yourself and for others, right? Whereas if you're focusing on healing and elevating yourself, developing Christ consciousness within yourself, you'll also have those, you will have access to those psychic abilities, but they will come on their own accord. You're not forcing it, right? You're not forcing it. So these things are better when you can share with others, especially if you have these experiences. You're going to ask yourself, if that's, why did I share all of this with you? Because it's knowledge that people should have if they're seekers. If you're a seeker, you should have this knowledge, right? You should know that, oh, this is happening to me and this is in my chart. And this is why I have more propensity to having these insights, right? So it's okay to share with people, but I'm giving you gift cards as well. I'm giving you also, I'm telling you the parental advisory, or yourself, the advisory for yourself, for your higher self advisory to you, right? Your parental advisory goes to your higher self. Your higher self is responsible for you, nobody else. So I'm giving that advisory as well. Be careful. And number one. And number two, share with others. It's super helpful to share your experiences and insights with others, right? So if you have certain psychic experiences in life, right? If you have had experiences, if maybe you go and check out the asteroids that I shared in this video, oh, this makes sense for me, or, oh, I had this experience, oh, this was very difficult for me, that I had that dream, or I had that kind of download, or I had that feeling about somebody else where I know how they are or who they are, right? And it was very difficult. Anything like this, say it, share it in the comments. Share it in the comments so we get this collective conversation and we create a collective communication. We are all nodes, but if we pop the nodes together, we become synapses, right? And we can create like a collective brain, right? So share in the comments what experiences you had, which, psychic energy is difficult, which ones are actually able to develop, how accurate this is now that you can go and look at your asteroids, and share in the comments here. If you want to do this in a more structured, systematic way, there is a working group that we're creating at Ultra Sapient Institute. Is the Ultraconscious Collective. The Ultraconscious Collective. If you want to be part of this is a global work group, a decentralized work group where we can create together and co-create and share our experiences on the journey of spiritual evolution, right? And create like this multifaceted experiential grid from all the different perspectives with guidance as well, right? If you want to be part of that, you can find in the comments. If it's already up, you will find where you can drop your email out when it launches. It's going to launch soon. The Conscious Collective events are coming soon. You can find it in the comments, how to go, where to put your email, so you can be part of this. And that's it. Make sure to like the video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and be well, take care of yourself, and be blessed.